Now, you will know that one of the things that we are seeing from the EU Commission is that they want to increase tariffs of 20.8% onto a favorite stock like Nio. This is what they are standing on right now, though China is trying to have talks with them to revise this, because as a result it will end up making China to retaliate, and it is going to end up hurting cars like your Mercedes, BMW, and other Europe luxury brands or other Europe cars that are selling in China. And these Europe brands, I'm telling you, they are selling a lot and lots of cars in China, which is something that is not good to see. Of course, then Europe wanting to impose tariffs onto Chinese EVs, the very same EVs that comes from countries that Europe is selling a lot and lots, or European car makers are selling lots and lots of cars. So it is for this reason that we have seen other car companies like Mercedes coming and saying stand up and ask European Commission not to increase tariffs onto Chinese EV cars like Nio. I mean, today we read an article of BMW now joining with Mercedes, or joining to what Mercedes, or supporting what Mercedes was saying, and pleading to Germany not to partake or not to vote for the tariff on the Chinese increase to be increased, or for the tariff to be increased onto Chinese EVs like Nio. This is what we read today, to say that BMW is pleading with Germany to vote against the tariff increase, which is something that is pretty exciting, pretty amazing to see. A lot of people, a lot of countries standing against the tariff increase onto Chinese EVs. I mean, last week I think we were talking about quite a number of countries, or 2 weeks back rather, we were talking about quite a number of countries that are against and are pleading with the European Commission. And now we are continuing to see more car companies, European car companies, coming and pleading once again to their countries, to the European Commission, to please think about increasing tariffs onto Chinese EV makers. And I know that some of these European car makers, they've got factories in China where they are producing some of their cars, but to come again and plead or suggest that the European Commission does not go on with the tariff increase, it just means that they will end up, this whole thing will end up also affecting them more than what people, you and me, see on paper, which is something that is just not good, not interesting at all. I mean, Volkswagen, this other time, I think a month ago, we were talking of a story of Volkswagen partnering with another Chinese car company, and because that Chinese car company, which Volkswagen is part of, or they are majority stakeholder, and they want to bring that Chinese car, the Chinese company they've partnered, they want to bring the cars of that Chinese company they own into Europe. It's difficult for them to be able to sell well because of the tariff increase which are going to be imposed onto that vehicle. So they plead because they know of the partnerships they formed with Chinese, some of the Chinese car companies, because of some of the cars they are exporting. In as much as these companies are producing some of the cars in China, let me tell you, there are cars that they are still exporting to China, which, with that happening, when China retaliates, those cars won't sell at all, because China will hit them back with more tariffs also, and it will end up hurting them more. I mean, like a Mercedes or BMW, their top high-end models are not being produced in China, but rather they are importing them into China, which that can also have a negative impact should EU Commission go ahead with increasing the Chinese or the tariffs onto Chinese automakers. So yeah, man, there's a lot at stake, and to see more companies, more countries coming and stand against this, it is something that is pretty exciting. I am happy, and I just wish the EU Commission can listen to these European car companies, to the countries in Europe, and not increase the tariff onto Chinese EV makers, because this, as a result, will just bring chaos in the automakers. And let me tell you, when this tariff come to play, if the EU decide to continue or go ahead with the decision of increasing the tariff on the Chinese EVs, it will not affect companies like Nio that much, because anyways 98% of the sales that Nio generates, they are generating them in China. They are not selling much in Europe. They are generating most of their sales in China, but vice versa, some of these European car makers are really dependent on the Chinese market, which is why they come and plead why they want the European Commission to reconsider, because they know it will hurt them more, or it might hurt them more than how it can hurt the Chinese EV makers like Nio. So tell me what you think about this. I think this is a pretty good initiative from BMW. The more we see these companies coming and plead and ask the EU, their countries, not to vote against the resolution of increasing tariffs, it is something that is pretty exciting. These are bullish news, and I think at the end of the day, even if the European Commission is to decide to increase tariffs onto Chinese EV makers, there will be quite a number of countries which will not allow, or which will not want the tariffs to be increased, or that will not increase the tariff onto the Chinese EV makers like Nio, which is good news to Nio. But the good thing about Nio, you will know that the Nio CEO has said that for their sub-brand like Firefly, even if this tariff can come, they will still be competitive. That car will still sell very well onto Nio. And for those that still don't know what the Firefly is, it is the second sub-brand after Onvo, and price-wise it will be priced between 100 and 200,000 RMB with a battery, and without a battery chances are high that that model will be below 100,000 RMB, which is just so incredible, amazing to see. Blue sky is coming. Do your own due diligence. I just thought I'd just give you this quick update, and God bless you all.